Okay, so yeah, the thing that I'm thinking about is an action that I took part in, which was in Fuss Lane in Scotland, which is kind of near, sort of a bit near the Solway Firth, which is where the Trident submarines are housed. And this happened in 2006, and it was in December, and it was part of a year-long a series of blockades across the whole year that was organised by a group called Trident Ploughshares. And what they were doing was asking different groups from up and down the country, and maybe abroad as well, but I'm not quite sure, to sort of sign up to blockading the base over a period of 2 days, basically. So you basically went up there for 2 days. I think the first day you were there sort of supporting the group that had been there before, and then the next day you did your action. So actually it might have been 3 days. I can't quite remember, but so we had signed up, and because of various commitments, work commitments from different people in the group, we worked out kind of basically the only time of the year we could do it was December. So we ended up going up to Scotland. I think maybe the second, third week of December, might have been the week before Christmas, I think, to do this thing. And I think we found out about it through, we'd been sort of a little bit active in the local area for a while, and so you get to meet people sort of through there, really. And I think one of the women was involved with Trident Ploughshares. She'd done quite a lot of work on their thing is non-violent direct action, so she'd done quite a lot of training with them, and maybe even was a trainer. So she'd sort of sent emails around and to see kind of people that were interested. And as happens, you go along to a meeting think, well, I'll just go and find out what this is about, and not necessarily commit. But it turns out actually there's not that many people there. So before you know it, you are actually, one of the people sort of getting involved. So so we did that, and then my partner sort of comes along and often thinks, oh, he'll help me out as well. So then we're both sort of kind of then pretty much involved. So I think there was quite a lot of training leading up to it on non-violent direct action, because it was very much needed to be that kind of thing that we did, and also training on kind of how to respond non-violently to the police if the police are in some way kind of being aggressive, whether that's pushing or pulling or whatever, or shouting or whatever, sort of how to respond to that and so forth. So we had some sort of sessions kind of leading up to the event, which was quite good fun in a way. You get to meet the different people that you're going to be sort of working with, and that's quite good. So it at that point I think starts to feel less about just you. You start to feel like more of a collective body, if you like, sort of taking responsibility for each other, and having a different role to make sure that we can achieve what we want to achieve safely, but also effectively. So you're kind of getting a message out. So I think we took 2 minibuses up there. There's 2 minibuses that went from Stoke. Some people I think came from Derby as well. quite why, I don't know. I don't think Derby had their own separate groups, so there were maybe 6 people sort of came across to make up the numbers perhaps, or whatever. So there were, I think, 2 minibuses went, and which was probably about 30 people in all. 2 designated drivers that were not actually going to take part in the action. Their role was to drive, and to drive people from, you know, the place we were staying up to just down the road from the gate that we were going to blockade, and so on. So there were some people who had different roles. There were different teams of, you know, welfare team, and a team that would do the cooking, a team that were going to blockade, actually do a physical blockade, and other people supporting. And it was very much kind of, you know, everyone's got an equal role. They're playing an equally important role in what's going to happen. So it's not the people that are blockading that are seen as, you know, doing the most important thing. Everyone's playing a role that actually helps to make that action happen in a safe way. And there's a media team as well, so people, you know, obviously get in contact with local media before the action took place, say what we're going to do, and getting stuff out there sort of online as well, taking video footage and so on, and pictures and you know, photos and so on. So I think there was only probably about 4 people that I knew beforehand that were involved, and other people that I met at some point sort of along the way. But I think kind of, you know, even people that I met just before we got in the minibuses, like some of the people from Derby, you kind of felt that because you're spending quite an intense time together, you get to know them really, really quickly, and feel sort of quite a close bond with them quite quickly. So I think we spent maybe 3 nights there. The first night was staying in, I think it was like a Methodist hall, something like that. I think because Trident Ploughshares have got a lot of connections with Quakers and Methodist movement, so that was their accommodation for the night. So everyone sort of bedded down on the floor in a massive hall all together, and didn't get a huge amount of sleep, unfortunately. Then ate together, and it, you know, it was, you didn't have any free time. Any free time was spent talking about how you're going to do what you've got to do, really, and sort of still doing some training from that, and bringing the new people that had arrived into the loop, really, in terms of what's going to happen, how, where, and so forth. Yeah, so that was kind of the first night. I think we arrived sort of quite late, had some food bedded down, and then the next day went to the site to support the people that had been there. You know, it was their second day, and had a walk around to see which gates are the busiest gates, and basically what are the logistics, how many police are there, what's feasible, and so on. And then back to another location to sleep. I think we seemed to kind of move around quite a lot. So I think while some of us were sort of doing a bit of a recce, other people were then going to the Methodist hall and getting everyone's belongings and, you know, ferrying them across and so forth. So it was quite well organised in lots of ways. I'm not quite sure how that happened, because I'm not sure I was that organised, but it seemed, it seemed to kind of work pretty well, really. And I think leading up to it, I think I was feeling quite confident about what was happening, what was going to happen. We'd got sort of belts. Someone had designed like these belts so you can lock on to each other that actually went right under our clothing, because one of the ideas is to try to sort of blockade for as long as you can, to prevent people from entering the base. That's kind of the idea. So one way to do that is to either people use chain themselves together with padlocks and so forth. So then the police can't just remove you; they've got to get someone in to cut the chains and so on. But that can all be done quite quickly. So on this occasion, someone had designed these kind of lock-on belts that were chains covered in like strapping, quite heavy-duty strapping that was sewn in with just sort of little holes where you could put the lock on to lock on to somebody else. And those went right under your clothes, with like a little slit in your jacket that you're wearing or something to put the padlocks on. So anyone looking from the outside just couldn't see that you were even locked on. And we practiced sort of quite a lot. Once we were sort of up on location, we were practicing kind of into the night, sort of how to get into position, how to sit down together, how to lock on really quickly, so that no one actually sees you doing it, really. It just looks like you sat down. And there were lots of spare, people have got pockets of spare chains and padlocks and so forth, that once they were down, they would then just like weave a web of chains to lock onto one another. So I think there was probably about maybe 15 people, maybe more, maybe 15, 20 people, I think, that actually did the blockade, with sort of 4 key people at the centre locking on for us, and then other people sort of joining on to that. So I might let her in, actually. Is that all right? Nothing's happening. Yeah, so I think up to that it was quite exciting, but then I think that second night just didn't sleep at all. You're going to be getting up at maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning. It's like 1 o'clock and you're bedding down. There's people snoring and all sorts, and it just kind of just didn't really have much sleep whatsoever. So I think I'd kind of woke up in the morning feeling quite sort of wired and quite sick, because I'd not had any sleep, but as well as the kind of then the expectation, but also the apprehension of kind of what's coming up, really, and not having done anything quite as full on as this before either, So I think at that point there's lots of changes going on. Your body feels very, very different, and maybe quite scared in a way, a little bit scared. And then I think there's also a sense that you don't want to let other people down. You think, right, I'm part of this now, and I want to do it. I don't not want to do it, but if I get it wrong, and so on, Anyway, so we'd spent ages, really quite a long time, working out, at what time precisely are we going to go around the roundabout and sit down, because there was a roundabout right in front of the gate, and we'd decided, what is the best position for us to sit down in. you know, so we'd got all these strategies in place that people had insisted we go over and over and over, yeah. And we decided, right, we'll get there and we'll wait this side of the gate as if we're just doing a banners protest, and then at such and such a time we'll go, well, we're just going to go for a bit of a walk down here and you know, go around the roundabout and then come to the other side and sit down, because that's where the cars would sort of go in to get to the gate. That was the plan, you know, because you want to time it right. You don't want to do it too early, because then you'd get removed before the workers come, but then also you don't want to do it too late either, because you might miss them. So it was all strategically worked out and drummed into everyone's head with maps drawn and position A, and if the police come forward too soon, then we go to position B or C or whatever. But of course, in the best kind of anarchist ways, that doesn't really happen. So we end up, you know, we're all up. We've had breakfast. We get in the van. You know, we get to park down the road, and everyone's kind of, I don't know, a little bit quiet and focused, and you know, thinking about what's going to happen and so on. But of course, so you know, we get to walking up to the gate, and so no, everyone just carries on. And you think, oh, I thought we were gonna stop here, but no. So everyone just like carries on and end up instead of, you know, going to our prime position, people started sitting down sort of too early. You know, and there's a guy over there going, "What are you doing? Come over here!" And yeah, so it's all a bit chaotic. But we do, you know, we end up sitting down eventually as a group. I mean, it would have been just seconds, but it seems like a bit like, wait for me, I'm meant to be in the middle, someone was saying, and so on. But we did manage to sit down as a group and lock on really quickly, and once that had happened, I think that it was then quite exhilarating, really. It was kind of quite a relief. You know, you feel quite excited. I know for me, I kind of, if I'm more confident, I get quite a bit mouthy and maybe and jokey and so on. So of course the police come over and think, oh, you know, because they've seen this day after day after day. And I guess it must get tedious, but they just say, oh, here we go again, type thing. And they sort of come over and look, and they think, oh no, it's all right, they're not locked on, it'll be fine, we'll have them away in a bit. And so they picked me first and are sort of pulling me by my arms, and I'm sort of going, no, you can't, it's pulling me apart. And they're going, no, what, you're not locked on, stop faking it. And whatever, and I'd say, no, I am, I'm locked on, we're locked on. They're like, no, you're not, come on. It's like, you know, you can't pull me, so I'm going to be sick if you keep doing that, and so on. So, and then they sort of, you know, had a bit of a fur call to see, and you know, we were sort of told, you know, you ask for a woman PC if they're doing that, because they're not allowed, they shouldn't really touch you, it's like touching you up. So, you know, so no, I'm sorry, what are you doing? You can't touch me. Is there a female officer? And so he's going, oh, don't give me any of that. And carries on. I was like, oh, did you just touch my breast, officer? I'm sure you're not meant to do that. And so on. You know, you do sort of all those things to keep it light-hearted, but it's a way to sort of also try to delay the inevitable as well. But then, you know, they realise that you are locked on, and you hear them go, oh, no, they're locked on, right, go and call whoever. So that sort of delays it even more, and, you know, we're all quite jubilant and, I don't know, probably singing or something. But it's kind of, it's cold, it's wet, it's not a pleasant time of the year to be outside at sort of 5 or 6 in the morning in Scotland, but you're quite well sort of wrapped up because of it. You know, you've got all your layers on, your thermals, and I don't know if we were sitting on, had got plastic wrapped around us underneath our trousers or whatever, but but sort of managed to sort of take care of ourselves that way. But I was the first person they decided to sort of do away with, much to my dismay. But which involved, it took quite a long time for them to have to cut through this webbing and then cut the chain on both. You know, you've got to do it both sides, and untangle whatever else had been sort of woven around. And then sort of when it comes to, you know, obviously they're going to arrest you for obstruction and so forth. Again, in training, we'd been told that basically if you get up and walk with an officer, they only need 2 officers. It only takes 2, one either side, to walk you to wherever their police van. Whereas if you don't walk, if you refuse to walk and actually just go all floppy, then actually it takes 4 of them, 2 arms and 2 legs, and that means that it uses 4 of them, so it's going to take longer. If they just use 2, then the other 2 come back and get your mate. So, you know, so that's the way to go, really. Which was, again, quite, I think, not everyone did that. I'm not quite sure why. I think they forgot or maybe didn't know or whatever, but that was something that I remembered, and it's kind of quite good. It felt quite good fun. It almost kind of like, yeah, you've got me, but I'm still going to kind of resist right up until kind of the end bit, really. And of course they have to keep stopping because, you know, they're holding your legs, so your waterproof trousers are coming down or your jacket's coming off or whatever. So, but I think I think that was the part of it I did actually quite enjoy. I think because of that, again, that, you know, still pushing that kind of resistance, really, and feeling quite elated for the fact that we've actually pulled it off, as well. Yeah, so it's kind of, I was thinking it's a bit strange in a way how you kind of like shift throughout it, from there's times when you feel like you're on your own, and partly that's when you're separated from others, maybe, but maybe not that clear cut, and other times where you do feel very much part, you know, the boundary between you and other people really blurs because you're part of this kind of collective body that's kind of making this thing happen. But yeah, so your process, they've got this mobile processing unit that sort of does all the fingerprinting and the photographs, and we'd got, for some reason, sort of ghostly Halloween makeup. Oh, I think it was the theme, because we had Izzy, what are you doing? I think one of our themes was a bit zombie-ish in terms of like thinking about nuclear waste, toxic waste, and what that can do, and birth defects and so on. So I think that's possibly why we had this sort of ghostly makeup on. I would have known at the time, but it's a while ago now. And so the police photos, I think, were then quite funny because they're taking, you know, you've got white makeup on with like black eyes that are smudged to kind of look a bit ghostly, and so I think I don't know, just was very cocky and was kind of pushing it, really, because they took fingerprints and they came to take the photo, and I said, do you want me to do the face? She's like, what? You know, do you want me to do the face? You know, the ghostly face. And I think I pulled some kind of like zombie move on this police officer. And she's like, no, I don't think so. Okay, you know, but I think, I don't know, it just felt like, I think it felt very empowering, actually, the whole event, that kind of made me then just feel like, yeah, I can just have a laugh with this, really, but which may not have been a sensible thing to do, but actually it didn't really make any difference, and was yeah, quite good fun, and quite, yeah, I think empowering is definitely the kind of right word, really. And then sit in a minibus, wait for other people to sort of be arrested and processed, and they've got different minibus for the guys, minibus for the women. Quite why, I don't know, except that I think they had different police stations, maybe, so I think they'd got, you know, holding cells for women and ones for guys, but again, why, I don't really know why that would be. Seems a little bit strange, but I think I waited in there for maybe, I don't know, 2.5 hours, perhaps 2.5, 3 hours, and it was cold. They'd put the heating on in the minibus for us, so it was kind of quite amicable, really, with the police officers. But I think we waited quite a long time to get taken to the police station. They'd said that there had been a football match the day before, so basically all the cells were full. We had to wait for then people to be released and then the cells to be cleaned before then we could get processed and locked up. So yeah, so it's just kind of a lot of waiting around, really, and by then you're just really tired, you're cold, you want something to eat or at least have a hot drink, and it's kind of, yeah, wearing a bit thin, really, I think, by that time. And I remember when I saw, like, the cell, first of all, so they take you in sort of one by one, and the WPC kind of went, there you go, you know, and you looked in and thought, what? Because it is literally concrete square room with a little raised bit of concrete with a very flat mattress on, and kind of, I knew it'd be sparse, but I didn't think it'd be quite that basic. Because she was like, go on then, in you go, and you think, oh, this must be it, shit, all right then. So, you know, you're in, your door's locked, and I think you kind of prepare for it before it happens. You know, you kind of, people say that have been through it before talk about kind of, you know, you basically, you're in a cell, you won't know how long you're going to be there for, and it can send some people over the edge a little bit. I think we'd known that they were holding people for like 36 hours on previous weeks and so forth. So we were prepared for that, kind of. So, and you know, and you haven't got a watch. You can't really sort of tell how long it's been, really, apart from the fact that it's gone dark now and, you know, it's light again and so on. And I think I kept thinking, oh, they'll release us soon then, and that doesn't happen, and it goes on and on. So I think after a while start to not get worried, but wonder when, how much longer is this going to be then, you know? But I think we'd all taken a book to read that we were allowed to keep, you know, have basically. And you could ask for a pencil and a bit of paper, so I sort of made the most of that and was kind of writing down my thoughts of what had happened, or something to like post online sort of afterwards. There's brilliant acoustics in the cell as well, so you kind of thought, well, actually, I'll make a bit of use of this and have a bit of a sing. And even if your voice isn't that good, it sounds great because it's got brilliant acoustics. You know, And then, you know, yoga, meditation, things you can do to kind of try and occupy your time, and sleep as well, because you're so tired that you do actually manage to sleep quite a bit. I think the thing for me was that although I think there were 7 women there wasn't anybody in the cell next door. The woman who was in the cell next door, that was part of the blockade, she had MS. And because of that, she'd asked to see a doctor, and the doctor had recommended that they don't keep her in. So she was released sort of within sort of 4 hours, I think. Whereas like, otherwise you can like knock on the wall and you can hear, you've got a bit of contact with somebody, and can maybe just about hear them. You know, there wasn't sort of anyone there. Yeah. But it was okay, and I think I'd probably do it again. Save for the food was the worst thing, really. I think being locked up, food was absolutely disgusting. But you'd got, you know, breakfast. It was breakfast tray that probably, if it hadn't been in the oven for, looked like it'd been there about 40 minutes. If it had been in there just for 20, then maybe it'd been alright. But it was kind of pretty much cremated. You just, yeah, you know, but you ate it because you were quite hungry, but yeah, not pleasant at all, really. Yeah. So yeah, so I think then we were obviously released eventually. It was about 36 hours. And, you know, I come out saying, how long are you legally allowed to hold us for? Without charging us? Because I didn't think we'd been charged. No one had been in to say. And he just said, yeah, you were charged, or you have been charged. And, you know, because I was kind of quite looking forward to having my say, you know, and sort of planned it out and everything. It's like, you've stolen my moment. So yeah, but anyway, and you know, and other people said, well, thank you for looking after us. And I'm like, really, thank you for looking after us. But yeah, and there's people, you know, the police obviously contact your communications person before they release you. So there's, you know, a minibus waiting for you, and people with snacks and drinks and so on to meet you. And that's it, really. Go back to the third place where all people are staying. There's lots of people that have already left. Just a few people remaining. Then I think went to the pub, had a drink, something to eat, and then long drive back home, really. Yeah. And I think after that, you kind of almost like really missed people that had been there with you. It's kind of, you'd formed kind of really quite a close bond, really. That afterwards, I think I kind of thought, I want to do this. I'd like to do this again. Like to see these people again and do something else. Apart from the fact, I think I was pretty much burnt out, and I had to go back to work and get on with the rest of my life, really. So, yeah. I think that's about all.